by the Apostle John. John is known for the gospel that bears his name. Yet forensic evidence suggests another John penned Revelation. Exhibit A, Style. The Gospel of John reads nothing like the book of Revelation.
The Greek of the Gospel is pure and simple Greek. The Greek of the book of Revelation is really quite atrocious.
Exhibit B, Chronology. Revelation was written around 95 AD. By then, the Apostle John would have been close to 100 years old, or more likely, dead. Who really wrote Revelation? The mystery will likely endure, like the book itself. To those who read it as prophecy, the messenger matters less than the message. The end is coming.
I believe that we're approaching these end times. Taking those prophecies and looking at our current world, it very much looks as though God is setting the stage for the fulfillment of end time events. I expect to see the rapture in my lifetime.
Yet when it was written, Revelation had a different title with a different meaning: Apocalypse.
Originally, apocalypse doesn't mean anything more than unveiling, somehow learning the secrets that only the deities know. But in modern usage, it's come to stand for end of the world because we so much associate it with the book of Revelation.
Among Christians, the book's power may lie not in the accuracy of its forecasts, but the impact on behavior.
There have been times when people have taken the book of Revelation very seriously and acted in ways that were revolutionary or even destructive, as we saw with David Koresh and the Branch Davidians.
In 1993, near Waco, Texas, a group of Davidians led by David Koresh waged a 51-day standoff with the FBI. The Branch Davidians are a small Christian sect who believe in the doomsday prophecies of Revelation. The siege ended in a fiery apocalyptic scene where 80 men, women, and children perished. In the 20th century, there were numerous doomsday panics. In 1918, some believed that the worldwide Spanish flu epidemic was a biblical plague that would wipe out humanity. But the epidemic passed. Mankind survived. Still, many believers of the apocalypse scenario are on guard.
As I believe that Christ could return at any moment, that's going to cause me to live in a certain manner that I don't want to be caught off guard.
Throughout history, Revelation has convinced believers to prepare for the end. For some, the end came, but not as they predicted. The end is near. So say those who take the book of Revelation literally.
I believe this is the last generation of human beings before the return of Christ. We've run out of time. We've run out of space. We've run out of room. We've run out of ideas. We've run out of pretty much everything. And we must be getting close to the end.
Most scholars say it's déjà vu all over again. In nearly every era, some people believe the world is ending based on their own interpretation of Revelation.
We've entered a new age after the 9/11 attacks and the war on terror. And once again, people are looking to the book of Revelation to find the kinds of things in it that would justify the notion that the end is near.
One of the things we find about apocalyptic belief is that every generation thinks it's special. Every generation thinks it will see the end of the world because it's the most corrupt period of time. And if we look at this historically, we'll see this over and over again.
365 AD, Poitiers, France. A bishop named Hilary becomes convinced the end is near.
So he starts telling people to prepare for the end. Nothing happens. It really didn't seem to faze him or change his image that much because in the 19th century, Hilary of Poitiers became a saint.
In the 15th century, in the city of Tabor, in what's now the Czech Republic, a group called the Taborites starts an entire movement based on their belief the end is near. They form a guerrilla army and spread their ideas at sword point.
They were actually going around burning churches. They would kill anyone who they identified as a sinner. And the basic criteria for being identified as a sinner is that you weren't within their movement.
In 1434, the Taborites are crushed, their leaders killed. In the 19th century in the United States, another apocalyptic movement springs up, led by an army captain turned Baptist preacher named William Miller.
He comes to the conclusion, based on his own private study of the book of Daniel, that the rapture is going to occur sometime in 1843 or 1844.
As time goes on, Miller pinpoints when the exact day will come, between March 21st, 1843 and March 21st, 1844. The intervening year comes and goes, but still no rapture. Miller rechecks his figures and arrives at a new date, October 22nd, 1844. By now, Miller has attracted an estimated 50,000 disciples. On the eve of the big day, some give away all their worldly possessions. Some even purchase special ascension robes for the occasion.
When that date comes around, all of his followers gather on the hillsides. They get together and they're praying and they're singing hymns, they're chanting, they've got their hands lifted up to heaven.
The next day is known to Miller's followers as the Great Disappointment.
It doesn't really faze Miller because he goes on to continue predicting the second coming almost every year until he dies. Of course, he made a lot of money on the ascension robes, and so he's got something invested in that.
The problem with predicting the end of time is so far that everyone who's predicted it, from John of Patmos to the Y2Kers, has been wrong.
To scholars, Revelation is so open to interpretation, it can mean almost anything.
I think that the book of Revelation is almost like a Rorschach blot. People see in it what they're predisposed to find. If they're looking for signs of the end, what they'll do is they'll find correlations between the images in the book of Revelation and their own time and place.
Some scholars believe literalists miss the whole point.
I would say that it's not a message of terror as most people think. It is not primarily a message announcing the end of the world. It's primarily a message of hope and reassurance that communicates that God ultimately and finally has the last word.
That message barely made it into the Bible. In the 4th century AD, many bishops debated whether the book of Revelation should even be in the Bible.
Lots of folks objected to the kind of violence that they found in the book of Revelation. It's also somewhat socially radical, very critical of the Roman Empire.
But the majority of church fathers agreed the book was part of the Word of God, and Revelation became the last book of the Bible. Perhaps the early Christian writers saw what the clerics missed. Every great book needs a big finish. The debate over Revelation continues. To some, it's an omen of doom. To others, a beacon of hope. It all depends whether you read word for word or between the lines. One thing both sides agree on: the debate will likely rage till the end of the world.